A Las Vegas couple is spending their summer volunteering in Ukraine. Eduardo Resto, a registered nurse from Las Vegas, will return to Ukraine next week to provide medical care to civilians in central and southern Ukraine. Resto and his wife Amy, an LPN, will volunteer with Global Care Force, a nonprofit sending mobile medical care teams to Ukraine. Resto previously volunteered with Global Care Force in Ukraine in November. Today, he talked to Fox 5 about his experience.
A lot of the territory that we go to is areas that are liberated from the Russians, so they're like left behind, the medical care is left behind. So we come in there and start bringing it back, the people who were left behind in their medical care, the diabetes, the hypertension, those kind of people that, you know, they need their medication but don't have it because of all this that's going on.
Global Care Force is helping to replace healthcare systems in locations in Ukraine lost due to the war. Many Ukrainian medical professionals have been reassigned to hospitals near the front lines or have left the country.